Introduced in Battlefield 1942 via a free game update, Coral Sea was one of the best maps ever made in the Battlefield series, and one which never gets the attention it deserves. This was a large map, defined by its open space. 4 mountainous islands and one smaller one in the center provided the only landmass on which to occasionally engage another sneaky player, use a few of the static coastal artillery batteries, or the sparse 40mm anti-aircraft guns. But what those islands really were there for was for obstructing vision and providing obstacles to aircraft. This map was a classic, and it was the first ever Battlefield map which had a different game mode built into it. Coral Sea had no flags. Conquest did not apply. Each team had one base, its single aircraft carrier, which, unlike on other maps, could not be moved. The objective of the map was simple: sink the other team's aircraft carrier before they sunk yours. As you may have guessed, this map was a pilot's dream. An infinite amount of aircraft spawned from the carriers, a new plane roughly 5 seconds after the previous one took off. For the factions, an F-4U Corsair and an A-6M-0 provided the fighter planes used for dogfighting, while the SBD Dauntless and the Ikeval were the 2-seat dive bombers used to pummel the opposing carriers. Dozens of planes were in the air at a single time. If a dive bomber got through, people waiting for planes on the deck of the carrier were often the target. Camping the deck was common, but not without risk. Each carrier had 4 40mm anti-aircraft guns on the sides, which allowed them to shred planes that came too close. Players waiting for planes often chose the anti-tank class and tried to zook down enemy planes while they waited for their own. It was often chaos, pure, fun chaos. With pilots doing their thing, you might assume that infantry players were bored that whole time. That is the biggest misconception of Coral Sea. Infantry players had 2 options. Oftentimes they would take planes of their own, hey, there were enough of them to go around, or get in the bomber gunner seat, fly to the enemy carrier and bail high above it, land in a safe spot, and then move around the carrier, killing all of the enemy players doing the repair work, using the AAs, or waiting for planes. The other option was to stay on your own carrier, using the AAs to shoot down planes, go after enemies who bailed on or climbed up your carrier, or repairing the ship itself. Of course, if you wanted to snipe, you could always land on the nearest island and take shots at the players on the deck. And then, of course, you had the players who thrive on chaos. These are the people who still do their best trying to C4 jihad in modern Battlefield games. These are the people that parachute high over a carrier and drop mines and dynamite onto the planes taking off. People that hide on the enemy carrier with a bazooka and destroy planes taking off. People that take planes and ram them into the enemy carrier's deck, killing planes and often many players waiting for them. Some even attempted to steal enemy planes, and due to server options disabling friendly fire, if you managed this miraculous feat, you could stay parked and keep dropping bombs, damaging the enemy ship, and killing players who were unlucky enough to spawn there. And this was always occurring on both ships. Of course, all of these actions took place with the objective to win the game in mind. Causing that chaos was not detrimental. Literally any of this trolling and abusive gameplay helped the team win the game. Engineers on your own ship constantly repairing it were critical to success. Quite frankly, I can't think of any other map in the Battlefield franchise that has so unintentionally fostered so much team play as in Coral Sea. Coral Sea as a map was only remade once, in Battlefield 1943, but it was drastically changed. In that game, it became an air superiority map, which removed all of the features and chaos that made the original map great. It was still a pilot's dream, but with its original objective changed and being made for Battlefield 1943, was Coral Sea ever really remade to begin with? Coral Sea represents a time when Battlefield embraced the chaos and creativity that its sandbox gameplay was capable of. Many servers eventually utilized an updated version of the map, which added a second aircraft carrier to each team, making the deck spawn camping more tolerable. Perhaps one day this classic Battlefield map will faithfully be remastered. There is no better time than the present to have it happen than in Battlefield 5, the era for which it was meant.